Okay. Oh, it didn't ask me if I wanted to do it here. All right, that's all right. Welcome, everybody. This is Nikki. It is August 2nd. It's already 8 months through the year, and it's just every time I say that, I know, aren't you all like, what? It's like watching your kids be little and all of a sudden they're eating their own sandwich. That was one of the ones that got me when my kids could hold their own sandwich. And I'm going, oh my God, they're growing up. They're eating a sandwich. So tonight we've got a really great guest on. So for those of you that may be new for tonight, I'm Nikki Cotton. My husband and I have been with the Juice Plus company for 32 years now, and we started this call maybe 20 years ago, and it's been every Tuesday night. It feels like forever. And it's one of my highlights of my week to see people on my team and to see you beautiful faces and to know that we are going to be learning something together. Because for me, the spark of transformation is my thing. That's my purpose on the planet, is to be the spark of transformation. So when I get to offer this up to new people, that's what happens. So tonight, oh, you know what? Oh, good. My glasses are here. Yay. So it's really interesting how I've reconnected. Stacey, I know we've met each other at conferences in the past, but Stacey has been doing this DMO call, and somehow I heard about it, and I got on one morning, and then she sent some recordings out of some of the things she'd been doing. She's a great trainer, and we are so lucky to have her tonight. And so in that connection, I thought, who better than to get on the call tonight and share a little bit about herself, her journey, but then some keys to success that's really helped her and her team. So let's do this for a second. I'm gonna do this. Do that. Yeah. Ugh. I don't know if I like that. I just spotlighted myself, and I'm really big. I don't know if I like that or not. But I want to make sure I do it for when Stacey comes on. So just a couple things. This is really amazing. So one of the things that's really interesting about Stacey is the amount of times, and I may have it wrong by one, that she has moved across the country in the last 19 years 6 times. Which means that every time she moves, if she wants to connect with people, she kind of has to start over. It's like she has started over a number of times. Her first move was after she'd had her 3rd child in tow. So that was 3 kids under the age of 3. And she had gotten to sales coordinator during that time. Another move across the country 3 years later, and the crash of her husband's business woke her up to the stability of what Juice Plus could do for her family. When you're in our team, in our business, if you've consistently worked your business, there is some stability that may not be happening with a business that you own, a brick and mortar building or corporate America. And Stacey's going to tell us a little bit about that. And then working with 3 young kids at home, she moved from sales coordinator to QNMD in less than 3 years. And then guess what? She moved again across the country. And so with NMD goals in mind, she continued forward, rebuilding with each move, and made NMD in one of the hardest years of her life. Had one more move across the country. And she made it to IMD. And now she's living in New Mexico in a small town. So rather than me telling you any more, I'm not going to be a spoiler. I want her to share a little bit more in depth her story. I'm going to find you here somewhere, Stacey. Where are you? There you are. And, in one of the trainings that she did on a video that I watched her on, she was talking about preparing. And the way that we all know that you need to prepare and be ready for things, but the way that she captured it really got me. And I thought, boy, my team needs to hear this. And then we talked about the 3 most important things to her. And so that's how this talk got developed. So Stacey, I want you to share a little bit more in depth your story. And maybe if you have a health journey that you think would be important for people to hear, because that's always amazing. And then how do you do it? What are your 3 things that you really focus on?
All right. Well, thank you so much, Nikki, for offering this opportunity. And really, I find it to be a huge honor. Everyone knows Nikki Cotton's name, and to be asked to be training your people, I mean, I don't take that lightly. And so I just thank you guys for your time being here tonight, and Nikki, that you would trust me with them. I do love training. If there's a part about this Juice Plus business that lights my fire, it is absolutely the training side of things. And after almost two decades of being with Juice Plus, I just have gathered lessons that I've learned from other people and from myself. And I hope that what I have to share with you guys tonight is encouraging, and it just helps you move your business forward as well. So just thank you again for inviting me to be a part of this conversation. And I did hear about Juice Plus almost 20 years ago. November will be 20 years. I had one child at the time, and he was a picky eater. I didn't think that we were eating that unhealthy. I really just didn't know. And I definitely wasn't feeding us unhealthy on purpose. But I was young, and I had just never really learned about the importance of fruits and vegetables or how they worked, and definitely not about disease prevention. So I heard about Juice Plus at a trade show. Sharon Farrar is my sponsor, and she was very, very persistent, lovingly connective with me over a series of probably 7 to 9 times. Honestly, it was. I didn't listen to the cassette tape she gave me. I listened to her leaving a message on my answering machine, and I was standing right beside it because I had not listened to the message. And she was just very persistent because we had made a really good connection at that booth, and we had connected as moms of little boys about the same age. And thankfully, she stuck with me. And I just think, man, what if she hadn't? Because my husband honestly was very sick at the time. He had pneumonia 4 years in a row, at least once, sometimes twice a year. And he was 27 at the time. So his senior year of school at the Air Force Academy, he got really sick. And then it was just this ugly snowball year after that. And I just think, man, where would he be 20 years later if we had not been introduced to this? Because his health wasn't getting better on its own, guys. It was just getting worse year after year. And so this, fell into our laps. God placed it into our lives is really what it was. And I wasn't as sick as often, but I was tired. I lived for the next nap. And I ended up using Juice Plus as my prenatal for the next 2 babies that we had that were one right after another. And it's been almost 2 decades, and Jarrett's never even had an upper respiratory infection since then. So where I got hours back in my day, he really got his life back. And when I was introduced to this, I remember asking Sharon, hey, is there a chance that this is like going to go on sale, or can I host a party and get some free product? I was all about the parties and connections. And she was like, better, yeah, I can share with you how to get Juice Plus paid for the rest of your life. And I was like, I like that. But I was not at all interested in a business, simply because I didn't know. Just like I didn't know about nutrition, I didn't know about having a business like this. What I thought of was having to stock my whole house with the product, take it with me to do demonstrations at other people's homes, or just having to have a large inventory. And I remember thinking, I want to be home with my babies. I want to be home with them and not distracted. I had been a dental assistant before, and although I loved that work, I really had a desire to be home with them long term. So I did, though, know that I have a very entrepreneur mindset and heart. Like, I was already doing things like teaching quilting lessons at 23. I mean, who does that? I was going to be a part of something. I was volunteering time. I always enjoyed just being productive, and my kids, I drive them crazy because I would tell them, okay, get up, everyone get up, let's be productive. So I like being productive and feeling like what I was putting my time into was moving forward. And so although I didn't know what I said yes to with Juice Plus, I did know I wanted some money back. I knew my parents were more likely to order from me than if I passed them off to somebody they didn't know. And I thought, I've got a couple of friends and my sister that I can share this with. And I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the education, and we started seeing changes over time. It wasn't right away for my husband, for sure. He had a lot of disease process to heal, but I just was in love with the simplicity of, like, did you know you can get fruits and vegetables in a capsule? Like, really, you can. And then I started to get a paycheck, and I could buy plane tickets to go home and visit family, or we could buy, save money for furniture. And pretty soon I started to dream and think about, what did I want this to be? Like, if people above me were starting to get promotions, why couldn't I? If they could, I could. So I started dreaming a little bit more. And one of the things that stood out to me is I felt like my parents and my husband's parents were missing their grandkids. Our kids, they didn't see them maybe twice a year. And I was with these cute little funny people, and I was like, they're missing them. Either they couldn't travel because they were working, or they had their own business and didn't have the income or time away to get away from that business or job. And I just thought, I don't want that for myself. I want the flexibility and the time freedom to know my grandkids someday, which is funny because I was 24. Like, who's thinking that at that point? But I really was thinking long term. And we're going to talk about that a little bit tonight, too, of keeping the long game, as one of Julie Herbst and MD's Sherry Ann Bennett talks about the long game, or thinking of like a marathon. So that's a lot of our story. Juice Plus is really giving us options through the years of just opportunities to say yes to private school for the kids. I homeschooled 1 year, and at the end of that, I said, oh my gosh, this is so hard. Who can I pay to do this? And I've got to earn the money to be able to pay to put them in private school. And so, just different things. It changed from just plane tickets to, at one point, I was paying the mortgage payment, or at least that's what I was working for. We had moved to northern New Mexico, back where we had grown up. Jarrett had a very successful internet business that crashed overnight with one email, from thousands of dollars to nothing with one email. And I remember thinking, I'm not going to put these babies in daycare. I'm not going to have my mom watching them. I want to be here. I don't want to miss out on that. And again, I saw this did work, and I thought, okay, the kids are older now. I can do this. I can really jump in. Which meant that Brielle was 15 months old, our youngest, and I had a 2.5-year-old and a 4-year-old. And I was like, they're older, I can do this, which it just cracks me up now. But it's like, when you have a strong desire to do something, you'll find a way. You will make a way. And that was my strong desire. That was my heart's desire, to be with them. And so I did. I worked and I got serious about personal growth and development. And I just decided I'm going to go for this. And I did make QNMD, and then a month later, we moved across country again. And when Nikki says that it's difficult to move across country, it is. It is like, yes, there's this new group of people, right? This whole town that you get to know and you get to make friends. And that's what I love about it. And you have to clean out your house and closets and everything every 3 years. Really keeps the clutter down. So it's been almost 3 years since our last move. And I'm like, oh no, I think I'm getting the itch to, like, maybe we should just do a yard sale instead of moving across town again. So, but there's some really difficult things about that. You leave this team that some of those team members are babies, they're new. Like, some of them had been on my team for a long time, or I had a good 3 years with them, but some of them I had only had 6 months or 3 months or 18 months. And you're just like, what happens to them when I leave? And as best I could, I set them up for success to do their own events, but it just changes things. It just does. And I've never lived in a town where there were other Juice Plus leaders there, or even Juice Plus people. Never. Like, if there was an event ever where I've been, it's because I created it. I was the one that hosted, that brought the doctor, that spoke myself, that did the training, whatever it was, unless I could bring somebody in. But there's never been a place where I've lived that I could just invite to events. And I think that was one of the best things. I had nobody else to rely on. I had to do it. If I was going to do this, I had to take ownership of that. And so, lots of moves, like she said. We won't go into all of those, but a lot of lessons learned along the way that I really would like to share with you. And one of the things that I have found is writing things down is super important. Like a thought in your mind. Amy Getz says, ink it, don't just think it, because you can think, oh, I'll remember that. That was a good thought. I'll use that later. And I'm not going to. So I'm really trying more and more to write things down as they come along. But I had written this the other day, and I found this in a notebook, and I just feel like it's going to lead right into what we're going to talk about tonight, about accepting the ups and downs of this business. And, sometimes we get customers cancel, they don't rebuy, or they reschedule, don't stay on schedule. We have team that gets distracted. Maybe they lose their vision or their interest. Something else comes in their life that steals their attention away. We want to always evaluate our own activity, but we can't sit too long with the why of circumstances. So in the words of Jim Rohn, don't take that class. Don't think about it too much. If in your evaluation you notice neglect or error, then pivot or shift, make a shift with that. What can I own on that one? And usually what I have found is affects or is affected by three areas: mindset, skill set, or activity. If I'm not personally growing my business, it usually is one of those three areas. And so that's what I wanted to talk with you about tonight. Nikki, do you want me to pause? Do you want to add anything, or you want me just to keep going? Okay, I'll just keep going. All right. So let's talk about skill set first. So one of the things in moving across country, you have to find a new group of people, right? So this last move, I remember I was listening to You're a Badass at Making Money by Jen Sincero, and I didn't think I had money issues, but I had money issues, so many money issues. I had to listen to that book 6 times. And when I feel like I'm not moving forward, I have to go back to that. And so I will re-listen to that book, and it usually sets me back on the right stage. But I knew when people asked me, or when we moved to this new place, they were going to ask me, what do you do? Or where are you working? Are you working outside of home? Because my kids were older, all in junior high and high school. So the assumption is that you work outside the home. And I needed something that I could say that would not just, I sell Juice Plus, because we all know that doesn't work. It will take the conversation nowhere. And so I kind of just thought through it, and I came up with, I help busy families simplify their nutrition. And I didn't say anything else. And I would just leave it at that. Sometimes they would say, oh, like, what do you mean? How do you do that? And other times they didn't say anything, but they would kind of come back to it later on. And so it could either lead into a conversation where I would say, you know, I do that with a company I partnered with years ago that found a way to put fruits and vegetables in a capsule and also in a gummy. It helps us bridge the gap between what we should be eating and what we do eat, because I find it difficult to eat 7 to 9 servings a day. And they would say, yeah, that is. So I said, that's what it is. It's fruits and vegetables in a capsule. I'd love to share with you more. I'm going to be doing some health events. When I get those set up, I would love to invite you. And they would say, sure, that'd be great. Okay. So that was it. I didn't go into a long explanation unless they asked me more questions. Then I would just send them a couple of videos to watch and then let them know I'm going to start doing some health events. And that worked really well for me. I got a lot of interest. It's a small town, so it's like, who's this new person? What's she doing? And I was like, I'm going to bring the fun. You know, I'm going to be the new one that they're like, hey, let's go see what Stacey's doing. And we did a salad jar one time. We had 50 people at a salad jar at a restaurant and built five meals each, jars, in 30 minutes. And then we did a health talk. And then another one we did at my house, we had 26 people. That was like the max that our street parking could take. We overloaded that that day, but it was just a lot of fun. And so, you know, you want to meet new people. We say we work from home, but we can't be at home all the time. You've got to be out and about. If I moved to this new place and just sat here in my office, I wouldn't have any connections, right? And this business is all about relationships and connections. So we have to be out and about. So here are just a couple of things that I've done. I have a whole recorded call on this that I can send to Nikki and she can pass on to you guys, called Bloom Where You're Planted. So I'm just going to touch on these lightly and then move on to the next one. But join into what other people are doing in your community and who is known in town. I started listening for names that kind of got brought back up again. And I was like, okay, that's a person of influence. I will connect with them. Moving to a new place, nobody knows you. You don't know anybody. I don't know what they did in high school and I don't care. And so I didn't have prejudgments about them and they didn't have them about me, which is really nice. So I wanted to just offer my support and my help. What was going on and what needs did I see in the community? Where could I step in and serve them? I did not come in saying, what does this community have to offer me? I thought, where am I needed? And then I'm going to jump in there. And one of those areas was there was not a moms group for moms that stay at home. And that's one of my heart passions, is mentoring young moms. And so I started a group, and it would spend 5 years. And almost everyone in that group is now either a customer or a team member. That's just happened over time as I've poured into them. I built trust and rapport with them. When they had their, health need, they came back to me. I did not share Juice Plus from that group. That's not what it it's for. It was a way for me to make relationships within the community and again, to serve them. I started a Facebook group for newcomers in my area. So again, that was something I saw wasn't there. Like, when is trash pickup days? Do you put bulk pickup, or where is the dump? You know, where could I ask those types of questions? And so I had new people asking to be in because of the name of that Facebook, but it was also a way I could ask people already established in this community if they would like to be added to that group. And this is what I was doing. I wanted to be able to offer new people support, and I didn't have all the answers because I was new too. Would they be willing to help me answer questions as people came in? And everyone was like, yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for doing that. So again, I was adding value to the community, and I was bringing in people that already had connections and networking, and it just built rapport with them, that they saw me as someone helpful and not just someone that was wanting to take. And so doing trade shows and craft fairs. Like I said, I was a trade show baby. That's where I heard from. It's a great way to just start meeting people in your community and making really good connections. If you can do the same ones over and over again, you start to see the same people. They come back around, you have another conversation. And then posting regularly on Facebook about the value added events that I was doing. And just, I knew that when I befriended somebody, they were going to look at my profile and just see, like, what was I about? What had I been posting about? And so I put information on there that let them know who I was. And so posting on social media is a whole different training, so I won't go into that. But part of meeting new people is knowing how to have a conversation, whether it's in person or online, and then how to move that conversation along. So it's one thing to meet people, but can you have a conversation that's directed towards the path you want them to go in? And there is a sort of psychology that goes with that. One is not mentioning things that are going to take them way off target. So if I said the first thing they ask, what do you do? If I said, well, I used to work as a dental assistant. At one point I homeschooled my kids, and then now I work from home. Now I've given them two other thought processes, dental assisting and, homeschooling. That could take the conversation in a different direction than where I wanted it to go. So leading the conversation is important. You want to be interested in them and not wanting them to be interested in me. I asked them questions. The majority of all conversations were directed back to them. I didn't go on and on about myself or about Juice Plus or about health and wellness or reading food labels. I really focused on who were they and what were they about. And I was banking information for future conversations of how I might be able to help them or bring in Juice Plus or health and wellness to a conversation. So another thing I did is I asked a lot of people to go to coffee or to go to lunch. Don't expect that people are going to ask you. They're busy. That's not on their priority list usually, is finding new friends to go to coffee with. But it was mine because I was lonely. I didn't have friends. I would even ask my girls, okay, who have you been hanging out with at school that you think I might like their parents or their mom? And they would say, Haley. And I would say, okay, get me Haley's mom's name and number. And they would. And then I would text her and I would just say, hey, I'm new to town. And our girls have been hanging out in school. I would love to get to know some of the other parents in the community. Would you be open to doing coffee or lunch? And almost everybody said yes. And that's how I made a lot of really good friends. Again, asking them questions. Some of those people I just met with once, it wasn't like a continued relationship, but it was still a positive experience. And then others, they have become really good friends of mine that we continue to those coffee dates. So be the one to ask first. So to wrap that, or to kind of go back around, attracting new people to you by being interested in them versus having them interested in you. Start the conversation first, ask lots of questions. Ditch the Pitch is great training on that, and look for ways to serve your community. So that's the skill set that I had to have or develop over time from moving all of those different times. So second thing I wanted to talk about was mindset. So okay, let's talk about this from the idea of having a business or doing this business, if it's a sprinting business or if it's a marathon business. So if you are a sprinter, if you're a runner, I'm not a runner, so I'm probably going to mess up this runner's talk, but let's just say you're a sprinter, and you can run fast, you can run quick, you have a short amount of time that you're running or a short distance that you're running, and you know it has a quick beginning and a quick end. But a marathon is different, right? That's miles and miles of running. If I start running as a sprint, I can get ahead of everyone faster, but I've not paced myself. And then I'm probably not going to, survive. I'm definitely not going to survive running the whole thing as a sprint. It's going to have to be paced, and you've got to have the long term or the long game in mind, understanding it's hours of running and there's a lot of training that goes into that. So I want us to keep our mindset on those two things, sprinting and a marathon. A lot of people start out business as sprinters. They're excited. They've got this great story. They've got product samples. They're doing their first event. They're going to invite all these people, and they expect that they're going to get quick, fast results, and that they're just going to jump from ding, 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 all the way up that ladder, and they're just going to move fast. Those of you that have been around a while know we all wish that. Somebody said, Stacey, did you have any idea it would take you 10 years to make NMD? And I said, no, I thought it would be much sooner than that. I had no idea it would take me 10 years. I mean, I remember thinking, I'm going to be the youngest NMD, because at that time I was really young. So if we have a marathon view of our business, though, we will understand there's times we're going to invite to that event and nobody's going to show up. How many times, Nikki, have you done an event and nobody showed up? It happens. It's not because you didn't invite well. Sometimes that is true. That was my evaluation of myself. But a lot of times people are just busy. They've got things going on. There's a lot of noise in their life, and I'm just one more sound to them. And until their need is strong enough that they can hear my sound, or they're looking for my noise, then it just doesn't apply to them yet. But my job is to keep making noise, to keep making sound, to be consistent enough to where they can pick it up when they're ready. And so if we view this as a long-term goal, and we are going to stay in the game, we're going to stay consistent pace so that we can finish the race, so that we can reach our goals, so that we can find success that we want. We're not looking for all the quick wins. We're celebrating one conversation at a time, one customer at a time. I can tell you, Nikki still gets excited when she gets a new customer. Like, it's still like, oh, I want to call and tell someone they just ordered. Or when you get a new team member direct to you, oh my gosh, that just lights you up. Even if we've been in the business for 2 decades, I love getting new team members. There's just something fun about their excitement too. And so if I would say that overall, why people don't do well with Juice Plus or a business like this, it doesn't have to be the name Juice Plus. It's because they are not looking for the long game. They're looking for something quick, fast, easy. This isn't always easy. It's simple, but the hard part is us. It's our mindset, what we're saying in our mind. And who do you have to rely on when that gets tough? If you have distractions in life, sometimes I know that I allow myself to be distracted because I'm discouraged. And so it's like, I want to get pulled over here so I can have something else. But then it doesn't take me long to realize, no, come back. And so who do you have in your life that can help shift that? It could be your direct sponsor. It could be a sideline buddy. It could be a life coach that you have, but having somebody in your life that helps you with that is super important. And, if you expect that there's going to be 20 people at every event, and after 3 events, you don't have 20 people, and so you're just out, you're really going to miss out. Because if you did, 10 events, I bet you over a year, those 20 people will come to your event, or they will watch the video, or they will decide, yes, Juice Plus, or no, not right now. But if you just give up at 3, you miss the opportunity to reach those that are still in the works. And they don't owe us anything. They don't owe us their time. They don't owe us their attention. We have to earn that by adding value to them and bringing a solution to the problem that they have. And that goes back to really good conversations. So I know that you guys, though, are not like most people because you showed up. You're here. You're on this call. You didn't have to be here. You didn't owe it to anyone other than yourself. And you showed up for yourself. And that's what makes a difference. Can you continue to show up for yourself year after year after year? Because I'm telling you, it's worth it. It is worth it. And I tell my team, you can quit, you can walk away, you can slip out of activity and just let go of those goals that you have, but you're going to miss something. I promise you, you're going to miss something. So think about, where do you want to be a year from now? Where do you want to be 5 years from now? Where do you want to be 20 years from now? I don't know how I had that thought at 24 to be thinking about my grandkids, but that has been a grounding point for me that has brought me back many times to that activity. And I now have a 20-year-old who's almost 21 that's getting married in September, an 18-year-old and a 17-year-old. And probably within 5 years, we will have grandkids from at least the oldest one, hopefully from the oldest one. And so like, I want to be where they're at, wherever that is, I want to be there. And I now have the time freedom and the flexibility to be able to do that. What a blessing. What a long-term game I had in mind that I have continually worked for. And I'm just super grateful for that. And for a company that has this much stability, that we can do that. So let me jump last into our last one, which is activity. And, I just want to remind you that this business works when we work. It's not our team's responsibility to grow our paychecks. I don't know how many times I've had a conversation with someone that they said, I want to do this business and, I'm working, but my team's just not working. I can't get them to do anything. They won't show up to events. I don't know. If I had a team that was working, I could just really be moving along. Sometimes I'll ask them, okay, how many team members do you have? 3. I've got 3 team members and not even one of them are doing anything. How long have you been in the business? 10 years. And I'm like, so in 10 years, you have 3 team members. Sister, you're going to be frustrated. And I guarantee you that they're frustrated with you because they know that you have expectations on them. It's not our job or not our team's job to build our paycheck. That's ours. And it's our job to keep finding new people and building frontline to ourselves. And then to breathe vision into that team and support them and lift them up and do events with them and all of the great things that our leaders do for us. So, when we show up and do the work, though, the activity is always going to lead to results. And so what activity is it that we need to be focused on? And that's what we call DMO, daily method of operation. And that is where the DMO call that I do on Monday mornings, you guys are all welcome to join in on those. It's 9:00 Mountain Standard Time. And Nikki will send you the information. And it goes along with this planner that I created. It's called the DMO Planner. And so that's the website, thedmoplanner.com. I'm a paper person. I love the idea of being on the computer and like something like Teamsy, and I worked with it for a couple of months and I just found out of sight, out of mind. And DMO has been taught to us for years. My whole growing up in this business has been about DMO. And so about 10 years ago, I developed a DMO planner, and it was actually more than that because it was 2008, 2009. Oh my gosh, the years are flying by, right? So I developed a DMO planner. I had it printed, and that was when I was working from sales coordinator to QNMD, and I found it was working, and I wanted a way to teach my team this duplicatable system that really simplified things and kept us on track. And so I wanted it all in a book because I was tired of all the DMO sheets getting lost and my desk just looking like a wreck. I wanted it all in one place. And so I printed those, had those printed. I sold them all. We moved across country, right? I moved away from my printer and from my binder. We just didn't have the money at that time to put in to another print run. And so it just kind of got laid aside. And year after year, I thought about, I would love to do that again. So then 2020, we've all got extra time on our hands. And I decided, okay, now's the time. I'm going to learn a new program. It needed redesigned. And I was ready to print it off again. And so I did that. So last August, so we're at a year now, I launched the DMO planner and the website, and it's just been awesome to see all of these team members across our company and other businesses pick this up and start using it and find as much value in it as I have. And so this is the activity that really helps us move the mark and grow our business. And we don't want to waste time, right? I don't want to be a sounding gong, just making noise that nobody can hear or understand, or just spinning my wheels and not actually progressing. And so again, that I want to be productive. I want to see my paycheck grow. I'm inspired by that. I'm encouraged by that. That's sort of a marker of mine to know that I'm really doing enough activity to see that growth and bringing on new people and developing team underneath me. So this is the activity that we're going to do. And every business has a daily method of operation. When I worked at the dental office, we didn't just have walk-ins all day. At that time, we had a paper that we printed out and taped to the wall, and it said 8 to 9, and this was the patient's name, and this is the procedure we were doing. From 9 to 10, this was the patient, this was the procedure. And we had the whole day laid out, and we knew how to prep for the next patient coming in. And there was a method to what somebody might have thought looked like madness, but it was how we operated in that office. Teachers are the same way. They have lesson plans, right? If you think, almost every business owner or business has some sort of operation that they teach their employees. And so really it's the same with us. And there's 8 different points that are into this duplicatable system that are going to help you track your activity on a daily basis. And so we're going to go through those 8. The first one is events. Okay, so what events are you doing? And who are you inviting to those events? I say every week you need to be doing at least inviting to one event that's online and doing one event in person. So that could be 2 people at a coffee shop. It could be in your home. It could be some event that's on Zoom that you just host live in your house. You don't even have to be the speaker. You can keep it simple. But if you really want to see growth, 2 events a week is what I would suggest and what I have found for myself and my team. So what events are you doing, and then who are you inviting to those events, and how are you tracking that? And in this planner, there's room to track who you're inviting. So the second point is, who are you having new conversations with, and who are you following up with? Okay, so if I'm having new conversations and I never write down their names, do you guys think that maybe sometimes you forget that person that you talked to somewhere, or that you had a Facebook message conversation with? Oh my gosh, I am notorious for that. I'll go back through Messenger and like way back. And then I start looking. I sent videos to people. I never even sent them a follow-up after that. Like, that's not going to work. Remember how many follow-ups it was for me? It's going to be even more if it's just a messaging on Facebook. And so who do you need to follow up that you've already spoken to? And then which customers can you reach out to and serve by letting them know their order is shipping, by inviting them to another event, or maybe just having a conversation with them and exploring their Juice Plus experience? Because when they have an experience, that's what's going to take it from an expense to an investment in their budget. And we want to keep that on the investment side. It's really difficult to cut investments out of your budget, but it is easy to cut out an expense. Okay, so good customer care is really important. A lot of times that's where your team members are going to come from as well. And then communicating with your team, and not just forwarding messages on Voxer. I'm talking pick up the phone and have a conversation with them. Sometimes it's going to be text, but guys, there's so much more that can be done when you're really on the phone with them. So these are business conversations that you're tracking, such as going over next steps with their prospects they're talking to, or even looking through their numbers, talking to them about their next events and helping them plan those out, like real business conversations. Next would be, what if you're not comfortable doing those? What if the numbers scare you on that PVC report? Don't worry, there's still things on there I don't understand either, but I guarantee you somebody above you does. And that's where a 3-way conversation is great. Whoever does the most three-way conversations wins, because that's where you're going to learn. You're going to learn how to breathe vision into people by hearing somebody else breathe vision into your team members. You're going to learn how to answer customer questions or prospect questions by having your sponsor in on that conversation as well. So the next part is always working on personal growth. You know, what are you reading? What podcasts are you listening to? What trainings are you on? What conferences are you going to? What local events are you tapping into? All of that personal growth that never stops, right, Nikki? It never stops. We want to just keep soaking in that information and growing for ourselves. And so marketing yourself and your message through a section called bonus activity, which really gives you next steps and ideas of what to post, or ideas of who to call if you're just like kind of stuck. You're like, I don't know what to do today. You can look on those and those will direct you. And then tracking those conversations, those connections, those contacts. In the back of the planner, there's some contact sheets. So everything is in one place. So I would really say this is what builds consistency, and consistency is what builds momentum. And momentum is where you're going to see results. The start, stop, pause, come back full force, slow down. I wore myself out. Pause, come back, start, stop. Like, that is so hard to build consistent momentum, because those conversations need consistency to actually help move them along. And they have to see that you're actively doing events and the conversations with your team members, next step thinking, all of that is super important. So this was important to me because my time was limited. Yes, my kids were older at 15 months old, but I needed a system that I could follow day after day after day and just consistently move that mark. And I saw it worked. And so I'm, super excited to bring this back to you. There's lots of training on this. And we did mention that call that you had talked about, one of the Zooms that I just did recently. I have those all saved on YouTube. If you guys ever want, the link to be able to look at all of those by topic, you're welcome to, about being prepared, and the power of being prepared ahead of time is super important too. But Nikki, that's all I have tonight. Thank you again for letting me share with you guys. I know I talked fast. I had all of this I wanted to get in and share with you, but I hope that you did find it helpful.
Well, my team is used to fast talking, so I think.
Oh, good.
I think everybody will agree with that. We're a little bit over, but I do I will get that information to you on the Zoom that Stacey does on Monday mornings, and it is thedmoplanner.com, just so you know, and you can check that out. Does anybody have any questions? That's just the last little bit. If we want to close this up, is somebody just dying that they heard something and they want to know a little bit more? We're open for that just for a moment.
Hey, Nikki, this is Heidi. I have a question
for
Stacey. So being in a neighborhood, not being a mama, with a community of lots of mamas, it's hard for me to relate sometimes to them. And I think they don't, even though I'm an auntie and I'm really good with kids, it's hard for them to really hard for us to like break down and really kind of connect. Any ideas?
So if you do have a neighborhood full of families, I would say do a block party. I did those when we moved here, and nobody even knew what that was or what that would look like. We had so much fun, and we got to meet everyone. So there was one other lady on the street. We decided, okay, let's do this. And so we just made up a flyer, and we chose by their last name, what they would take. And we picked a day that worked for us. And we drug all the grills in the neighborhood into our front yard and just kind of marked off the streets just kind of with the cone so people would go slow. And the kids played in the street, and the parents got to chat. Everybody brought a dish to share, and it was really, really fun. And we did that. And then we moved to this new area. There's not as much of the houses are not as close together, so it's not as tight. But this fall, I'm doing another one. So those are a great way to meet your neighbors, and those that are friendly. I just continued having conversations. I even started a Facebook for those of us on that street. If we had a question, like a group, we could ask in there or whatever. So a block party is a lot of fun.
Cool. Thank you.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Great idea.
Any other last ones for starting over, starting new? Because
I have a question, Nikki. This is Debbie Blair. So you were talking about when you're talking to someone, you're saving information for later. I'm doubling up on my omegas, but I have a really hard time when I'm trying to remember something and then still keep listening and remember everything. Do you have a trick for how do you remember? And then do you just go write it down really quick later? Or I struggle with that.
Okay, so what I struggle with is remembering that I talked to somebody. Like I meet so many people, I do a ton of training, all the things. Nikki might connect with this. Like I will, and we've lived so many places, right? So many Facebook friends. Like I will have conversations with someone and then forget that I've ever even talked to them, or maybe they came to a health event and I knew they were there, but I didn't have a deep conversation with them. And I have just forgotten people's names. I almost always forget people's names. Like I'm not really great with that, but I'm trying to connect with their story. And so really listening and not thinking about, okay, what am I going to say next? Just really leaning in and saying things like, tell me more about that. How has that affected you? What does that look like? When I'm in a conversation that's deep that way, even if I don't remember all of the details, when we do have another conversation, it kind of like starts coming back to me. So I do better with that. And I'm not as good with faces and names. So somebody might be better with the face and the name, and like they never forget the two together. But I would say I'm really paying attention to the story, and I can tell you where someone sat in the event and like who they came with, but I probably won't remember their face, which is really weird and not good when you see them again in Walmart and they're like talking to you and you're like, oh my gosh, like they clearly know me, and trying to like, I always feel like there's this old Rolodex in my head spinning, like trying to make the connections and like, how do I know them? So I really don't have a great answer with that, other than I'm trying to piece together that story and really listening well.
And I think, Stacey, our memory is best when there's an emotional attachment. And that's why the story for you is you connect with the story enough to remember the story. And I've never heard anybody say what you said. I say it a lot. I don't remember faces, but I will remember their story. So if I come back and they say, oh, I met you the other day, and I'm thinking, I don't remember your face at all. I don't remember you. It's so embarrassing. And they'll say, well, I'm the one that told you, and it can just be 3 words. And I will remember the entire story, and they'll be blown away by that. And then Alita said, sometimes just getting back in the car and in your note section of your phone, run to your phone, turn away and go to the bathroom and give yourself some notes if it's somebody you really want to connect with. So
thank you.
I hope that's helpful for all of you. So first of all, I just want to thank everybody for being on the call tonight. And thank you, Stacey. That was just a fabulous call. And as a reminder that we are having our Take Healthy Back calls every Tuesday night at 5:30. And Stacey, your team and you are welcome to those calls. They're different every time. It's 3 people telling a little bit about their story and what they're up to. And it's every group is slightly different, has a different theme. So in August, we started doing it at 5:30 p.m. every Tuesday night, and then we roll into this call at 7 o'clock so we can get everything done on the same night. And so we will all see you back here next Tuesday night for our celebration call. We've got some stuff to celebrate. And again, 5:30 p.m. will be our Take Healthy Back call. So if everybody would unmute their phones or their Zooms and just give a word of appreciation to Stacey, whatever that looks like. And
Thank you, Stacey.
Incredible.
Amazing training.
Information.
Grateful, Stacey.
Thank you
so much.
Inspired.
Thank you so
Amazing.
much. It was awesome.
Stacey.
Thanks,
bye,
guys.
everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.